All right, so welcome everybody to our very first installment of our COVID DIY Skills for Our Time webinar. Today we've got Sue Whitaker. Sue is a woman of many, many talents, one of which is sewing, and as is quite the craze these days, she has started to sew some of her own masks, non-medical masks, I guess you would call them, but that could help protect, especially protect other people from getting COVID-19 from you. Maybe not a huge amount of protection that we know of for from getting it from other people. So it basically prevents you from speaking moistly to people, as the Prime Minister put it yesterday. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sue, who
Did
is
you want
going
to talk
to.
about the chat box, Jordan?
Yes, okay, of course. Thank you for reminding me. So so there's a chat box here, which I'm going to type something into it so that it will kind of flash up orange. And so you should locate the chat box in your controls. If you open that, you'll see a little panel. Depending on your device, it will usually open up kind of on the right-hand side of your of the active screen, the video screen, if you're using a desktop. And at the bottom of the chat box, there is a little field where you can type a message, and make sure before you send your message that you verify that the to field is selected as everyone, as opposed to just one particular person, because it is possible to send a private message in here as well. And then press enter once you've typed in your message, and that will appear in the chat. And I'm going to be keeping an eye out on the chat so that if there's any questions, I can get them to Sue. So Sue's going to start with the presentation, and feel free to ask questions if you need to clarify something that she's showing you kind of in the moment. Feel free to ask your question right then. Otherwise, what we're going to do is wait for Sue to go through her whole presentation, and then we'll open it up for more of questions, of more sort of technical nature, like, have you thought about doing it like this? Or, some of you I know are making your own masks, and you might have some things that you want to share as well, which is great. So so I'm going to turn it over to Sue now, and let the presentation begin.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. That's great. So I'm starting with a disclaimer. Oh, Jordan, why do I just still see you? Am I muted?
No, you're not muted.
Oh. Huh. Okay, I don't know. I'd like to see me in the big screen.
You should be try switching between speaker view and gallery view in the upper right-hand corner.
I have, and you still are the main one.
If you see your video as one of the small videos, you can click on the little dots next to it and select pin video.
I should have tried this. Oh, here. Pin video. Okay, thank you very much, Jordan. And I'll try and get rid of this box now. Sorry, you guys. Sorry, horses. I'm not a doctor. I just play one on on video. And I'm not a professional sewer. As Jordan nicely put it, I have a few skills that a multitude of skills, and I think the phrase is jack of all trades, master of none. But I've learned a few things over the last few days. So, as you know, there's probably thousands of YouTube videos out there now on how to make masks. I've read as many articles as I could. I've looked at as many videos, and I've come up with a few things and then settled on one that I make myself. So is everyone okay in terms of hearing me and seeing me? If not, yes. Let me know. Okay, great. So the very first one that I saw was what we call a shop towel mask. It's probably the easiest thing to do, and it's a way to make a mask. I don't know how effective, but it's easy, quick, and cheap. So you just could use something like these, and I know it's backwards, but these shop towels or something like it. I got those at Walmart, and they come in sheets. So they're blue sheets like this. And all that you do, you need a sheet of this, a couple elastics, a paper clip, some tape, and a stapler. And that's it. So it's a no-sew mask. And basically what you do is unbend the paper clip to make it straight. This is for your nose piece. I should not have put hand lotion on before I started this. You twist the ends up. I use needle nose pliers. Twist the ends so that they don't poke through the paper. So they end up looking like that on both sides. I'm going to do it very roughly here because I don't want to take any time. So you've got basically a straight piece of wire with the ends folded up. You put that, it's a little awkward to show you what I'm doing with only my laptop, but you put it at the top of the paper towel. You can tape it there in place. So it stays at the top of the towel. And then you just do an accordion fold. I'll just show you in a second here, all the way along. I'm doing it fairly quickly, but you just fold your towel in an accordion pleat like this. They say about 1 inch wide. And so then you end up with something that looks like this. You take your stapler, you go in a little ways, and you put a couple staples across at the end. So I'll show you where that is. It's like that far from the end. You put a little tear or cut so that you can divide the pleats in half. Put an elastic into that divide that you've just created and staple it again to hold the elastic in there. Okay, so when you're done, this is like a cooking show. I've got one ready here. It looks much like this. I've sewn this one just because I found it easier than using a staple. So that's it. You open it up. You fit this over your nose, bend it in place, put these over your ears, and you have a very quick and easy mask to make. How effective? I don't know. That's one easy one.
Sorry, Sue, did you already mention where you find that paper that you're using, the shop
I bought
paper?
mine at Walmart. I believe it was Walmart, and it's about maybe $2.50 for a package of 55 of them. And the reason that it's supposed to be good is that it's what they call a non-woven, well, fabric, in that it doesn't have a typical weave that cloth will have. So I gather it's harder for the virus to get through. But everything I've read suggested just one layer of a non-woven fabric like this. Again, don't know really how effective. So that was sort of early days of looking at masks. Does that answer your question, Jordan?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So then the second one that I looked at was a pattern for a pleated mask. So it looks, the end result is like this. Oh, I should go back. So the pros and cons, sorry, of the towel. It's easy to make, pretty cheap, and it's a non-woven fabric. So the cons, again, I don't know how effective. And what I found for sure is if you don't have the right elastic, this is the number they suggested. It's not very comfortable and it won't really stay on very well. And it won't, and it pulls your ear down. So, and a bigger elastic, I tried tying a knot, didn't really work. So it's worth experimenting, but not my favorite one.
Sue, I've got Trudy just made a comment here that it's not reusable if you do it that way. Do you want to comment on that?
I do. I have heard that it can be. They are washable. I tried washing one, and it gets a little bit funny. So you can reuse it theoretically a few times, but it is only glorified paper towel. So I don't know how many times you'd be able to use it. So I think that's one that's just, if you're really stuck and you want to put something on and you have no way of, you don't have a bandana to tie, or it's really sort of the thing that I would recommend the least. So the second one that I tried was a pleated mask, and it's one piece of fabric that you sew. It has a pocket in the back if you want to stick a little filter in there. So it would essentially end up being 3 layers, the cotton, the front cotton. Oh, Julie's having trouble finding the pin video.
I'll talk to her here.
Okay. And it's got I put a nose piece in it and ties, and we'll talk about ties in a minute. So This is a good one. It's comfortable. I'll just pop it on here for a second so you can just see what it's like. You just fit it on, tie it, and tie it in back. So it does fit around your face. It's fairly tight here. You can fit it over your nose. Not bad. So it's not a bad little mask. The only thing I found it kind of finicky to make, just to get these pleats right, especially if you're a little bit OCD like I am. And to get the filter in, because it's pleated, not quite sure how that works. If you'd have to fold your filter or expand it and put the filter in and then put it on, not quite sure. So that's another one. So the fit's good, one piece of material, but it's just really 2 layers of cotton unless you put a filter in. It's finicky to make and not sure about the filter. So that's really quick. Now, Jordan will have links to all of these. I sent him a link for the shop towel mask. I sent him a link to make this one. And he also has the link for the video, the YouTube video, and a pattern, although I've tweaked it, for the one that I'm going to show you that I've really settled on. So that one is a fitted mask. And I'll show you the final, what we're aiming for, what the final one looks like first. And then I'll go through the steps of how to get it. So it looks like this. It's got a nose piece. It has a pocket here for a filter. And it ties on, and I'll just show you. So again, fits quite nicely and fairly tightly over the face. So that one is made up of 6 pieces of fabric, which sounds a bit intimidating, but believe it or not, I actually found this one easier to make than the one with all the little pleats where you had to fold them and make them match on both sides and that sort of thing. The video does not have a nose piece in it, so I've added that. And the video does not have these darts in the bottom. I put a couple little darts underneath just because I wanted it to fit fairly tightly under my chin here. I found it gapped underneath a little bit if I didn't put those darts in. So in terms of making the masks, I've tried to set myself up as efficiently as I can because I'm making many. I'm not making them to sell. I just make them for friends and family, basically whoever wants them. So you can see over this shoulder, I have my sewing machine. This used to be, well, it still is my office, but since I don't have a whole lot of work right now, I'm sewing. So there's my sewing machine and an area where I work, and then I keep my iron and ironing board always set up when I work, and that helps. I also have, which not everyone does, I recognize, I have a cutting mat that I use and a rotary cutter, which means that I can cut many pieces at once like this instead of cutting with scissors. And one little hack that I've done, because I don't have a rotating rotary mat, is I happen to have this cake decorating turntable. And so I set my mat, fabric, and my pieces on that, and use my rotary cutter to cut out several pieces at once. And so I can cut out one side of it, turn the whole thing, cut out another and another. So it's sort of just production cutting. And I also have this other ruler type thing to use when I'm cutting other things. So I have that, scissors and pinking shears. But you can just do it with regular scissors too. You don't need to. That's only when I want to make a whole bunch, because you can also see here, here, I've cut out a whole bunch of pieces so that I can sort of do, but I don't maybe can and do pieces and then eventually put them all together. So in the end, the other thing I like about this mask, it ends up being 3 layers, because you've got the outside layer, you've got the lining layer, which in this case is this rough color, and then you have the filter pocket. So you have 3 layers to start, and if you put a filter inside of this, you end up having 4 layers. But it's still, because it's 100% cotton, it's still fairly easy to breathe through, and because of the nose wire, I find my glasses don't fog up when I have it on. So those are just some things to think about. So in terms of ties, seems like everybody's out of elastic these days, and I've heard from some nursing folks is that sometimes the elastic, when they wear it all day, can just be a bit hard on the head. So some of them like masks with ties. And This is not in the video because she uses something different, but I saw a case where they made ties out of old t-shirts. So they would just take a t-shirt, a 100% cotton t-shirt, I find works the best, and cut, so take your t-shirt and cut an inch by inch strip. So I'll just show you here. So it was a white t-shirt. So I just cut an inch off the bottom of it. Then before you cut this circle, you pull it. And if you pull it, you see it naturally curls. But it still has some stretch to it. So as soon as you pull it like that, you stretch it out and it stays stretched out, you have a string. So I just do that, and then I will cut one end of it, and I can find my ruler. Around 15 inches is a good length. You might want to make it a little bit longer, so I would just measure about 15 inches, and you can see that one is going to get me 4 strings. So I'll just cut that and cut this one, and there, it's as easy as that. You have 4 strings to put on your mask, and the mask takes 4 strings. So that's pretty easy. So that's a thought about, but you can also use elastic, you can use bias tape. I made a mask for someone who has some dexterity issues and a little trouble sort of really reaching behind the head to tie a mask. So I think I even have it here. Yes, here's one. So I just use bias seam tape, and I put Velcro. You can't really see it because it's black on black, but Velcro on the end of it, on both top and bottom, and it's much easier for this person. They can reach up and attach the mask without having to sort of keep their arms up in the air all the time. So you can use all kinds of things. I also saw in one video where someone suggested if somebody has, again, dexterity issues or not able to raise their arms very well, or in one case, somebody I think only had one arm, is that they put 2 buttonholes here. And then they made this side extra long and threaded it through the buttonhole, put a toggle like you put when you're doing up, I don't know, a ski jacket or something, and tied it at the end. And then the person they could do it in the front. They didn't have to reach back, and they could push the toggle up to tighten the mask. So lots and lots of variations out there of how to tie the mask. The nose piece, we went through that already, but I'll talk about it a little bit more. So a stretched out paper clip with the ends folded is an option. I've seen where people use these sort of plastic covered twist ties, fold it over. I've tried that. Iffy on it, but if it's all you have, it certainly would work. Someone else suggested florist wire, which I also happen to have, folded in half. So just a piece of this sort of green florist type wire, and you just cut an appropriate size piece. See if you can see that there. Again, I'd round the ends just so that it doesn't poke through the fabric that you're using. Or my husband just happened, because he has got a pretty extensive workshop, he happened to find a roll of wire that's about the same width as paper clips. So that's what I'm using. And again, because I'm trying to mass producing, I just do a whole bunch of these at once, and I just clip the wire to the right length and just take my needle nose pliers, turn it in. It looks so easy when somebody's been doing it for a while, but it actually isn't hard. Turn it in, and then there, and it goes in my little jar. And then when I go to make my masks, I've got a whole supply of them, and I can just pull them out. So that's nose pieces and ties. A lot of stuff here. And filters. That's something that you guys may have to Google. I don't know a lot about filters. I've heard because that shop towel that we talked about earlier can make a good filter. I've cut a few pieces about the right shape to fit into this mask, and then it can just be put in. Hard to sort of show you guys holding it up in the air, but you just slide it in to the mask, into the pocket, pull it in, flatten it out, and then you have the mask itself and the filter inside, a whole extra layer if you want that. Definitely optional, but that's what I've done for filters. But you can Google it, because I think people are using everything from vacuum cleaner bags, which I understand you shouldn't, because they might have fiber. I forget what it is, that plastic fiber, and they're very hard to breathe through. So you might want to be a little careful what you use, but
See,
That's
Trudy
something that
McDonald was just wondering whether coffee filters might work.
again, maybe I haven't seen that anywhere, but in some cases, I think something's better than nothing. And as long as you can breathe through it, so I don't know. I mean, they might be. I don't know. And I guess the question is, I don't know, is Trudy saying that she thinks they are? Because I know she makes masks. And
Well, she asked it with a question mark, so.
okay, so I'm not sure. But that's something that people could Google if they want to put a filter in. I guess my point is that it's not, when I say filter, it's not like it's designed for a certain filter number that you go and buy. It's just a pocket that you can put something in if you want another layer between you and the person that you're talking to, so you're less moist when you talk. In terms of fabric, the fabric that seems to be most recommended for these do-it-yourself masks is 100% cotton fabric, and I use 100% cotton t-shirts for the ties. Other blends might work, I don't know, but I do know the cotton works. You can see how very easily it just stretched out. And here's another example, because I think it's the slickest thing. You just pull it and it naturally curls, and that's it. So maybe blends would do the same. I don't know. So what we did is we looked through sort of our old rag bags and closet for things that we weren't wearing or didn't fit anymore. And so I asked friends too, because I'm making masks for them. So I asked them to donate maybe a bit of material. And I've been given everything from an apron to pillowcases to shirts, t-shirts, cloth napkins. Anyway, just anything that's 100% cotton is about the right weight that would make sense. Who's Cortana who's blocking Sue's face? Another shop. I don't know Cortana. Shop paper is this blue sort of heavy duty paper towel. And the brand that I looked at is this called Shop Original, Scott brand. And I got it at Walmart, I think, for about $2.50, so about maybe 55 cheap. If you need to buy fabric, Island Fabric was closed for a while, but they've now reopened on a sort of on a pickup basis. So it's a little convoluted, but those women over there are just great. So if you friend them, or I guess like them on Facebook, you can follow and you'll get messages. But you can send a message to them through Messenger. Maybe you can text. I use Messenger. And you can, if they're wonderful, I'm dealing with a woman called Susan, and she's amazing. So I can say, I'm looking for 100% cotton, a tiny print, kind of girly, maybe in the pink range. And then she'll send me a photo of 4 or 5 of the cloth lined up. And then I can say, oh, yes, the one second from the left kind of thing. And she'll, sorry, I'm getting distracted by these messages. I have to stop reading them. She will send that to you. You can pick it out. She'll even, if you need, she'll match thread to it if you need thread or seam binding or anything. And then she tells you the amount. You phone with your credit card, or you can send an e-transfer. And then you let her know when you're pulled up outside, and she takes the paper bag and puts it out and watches through the glass door. She goes back inside while you pick it up, and you've got your material. So you can't go in the store, but at least there's a source for material if you need to buy. But I imagine many people have old clothing around. So when I get whatever material I get, I wash it on hot and I dry it on high. So I know environmentally that's not great, but it's only a few loaves, and it's for a reason, because you want the material to shrink as much as it's going to shrink for 2 reasons. One, so when you make the mask and people wash it, which they should do frequently, then it's already pre-shrunk and it won't shrunk and make the mask misshapen. And also I understand with the cotton, if you wash it and shrink it, then the weave is that much tighter and the mask is that much more effective. So I wash it and I dry it, and then when I go to work with it, I iron it before I cut out patterns or anything, so that you're not trying to use wrinkled material when you put your pattern on it. So that is a nice segue into pattern. So the mask that I'm talking about, this fitted mask, Jordan will share the video. And there's also, after this is done, there's also a link to the pattern. She has an adult size and a child size. and there's two pattern pieces. So there's this one. I know you guys, but face mask, two of the liner, and then there's another pattern piece like this that you cut to for the filter pocket, and they will be made available to you, and they're very, very accurate, so it's great. What I've done is I had, again, my very, very handy husband, he cut out of MDF some templates for me. So he made those out of wood. So when I use my cutting mat and my pattern, so I can put material underneath to put that, and then with my cutting wheel, it's really easy. My rotary cutter, I can just cut along and cut several at once, turn it, cut the other side. It's quite slick. So you could make this out of probably heavy stock cardboard, or sometimes those plastic placemats or something like that if you wanted, something that your rotary cutter won't cut into. Or if somebody was really making a lot and doing kind of mass production, not to sell, but to donate to service workers and that sort of thing, I'm pretty sure, because he's a nice guy, I could talk John into making a few more of those. Probably not that many, but a few. So if you want some and need some, let me know and he could cut some out for you. Okay, so now on to actually making the mask. So 6 pieces. So we've got the outer liner. We've cut that. That's 2 pieces. So that's that first part A pattern piece. We've got the inner liner, which is also 2 pieces, using that same pattern piece. And you can make it all one color. I just made it 3 different colors, so it would be easy to distinguish the 3 parts. And the filter pocket, which is the smaller one. 2 pieces again of that. So you've ended up with 6 pieces of material. This is all covered in the video, and I will tell you when I deviate from the video, when I do something that the video doesn't cover. So what you do is you sew the finished edges just of the filter pieces, just these short edges, because they will be exposed. So you can either serge them if you have a serger. I don't, so I fold it over just twice, make a tiny little seam. It doesn't matter how big it is, you can just eyeball it and just sew that. Not a good color maybe, but I think you can see that. That's one option. The other little tweak that I've found is if you get material and you're recycling your material into masks, there's a lot of times, by material I mean clothing, there's lots of times when there's already a finished edge on the clothing. So if you position your pattern in the right spot, you can take advantage of that edge. So all you need is to have this edge as not a raw edge, but a finished edge in some way. So serging, sewing, making a seam, or take advantage of a seam that's already there. So that's the first step. Once you do that, you sew all these pairs of pieces together, right side, or I love, this woman kept calling it pretty side, which is easier to remember, pretty side together. So you just do a 1/4 seam allowance all the way around for each of them, each of these pieces. And when you finish, you would, if you have pinking shears, maybe everybody doesn't know what pinking shears are, but they're these scissors that have a serrated blade on them. You can use your pinking shears around the curve, and if not, you can just clip into the curve just so that it will lie flat. I think I've got an example here. So in this example, because I can't really sew in front of you guys, I've tried to do a few examples of the various stages as we go along. So here's the inside with the finished edge on it, and here it is sewn together. So I would put right sides together and take the edges, and the same with this piece, right sides together, and the edges, I use my pinking shears on them, and the same with the other pieces. So now you've ended up with 3 pieces that you're going to fit together. So what you do is, I just want to make sure I'm not skipping any steps. So you then, if they say pin the pieces together, and this is another little sort of tweak, or I don't know what, I guess you call it hack, that I do. Well, just a second, I had everything in front of me. Oh yeah, so instead of pinning, I often just use these little clips, these little pressure clips. You can get fancy quilting ones, but I don't have those. So I just went, because I'm in my office, I saw these, I call them alligator clips. And I thought that would do. So instead of pinning, they're a lot easier just to clip. And then when you're finished and sewing, you can just unclip. So you put the 3 pieces together. And the order, and this is in the video, is the inside liner, which is this piece, pretty side up, or good side up. The filter pocket, pretty side up, or good side. You're fitting these all together. So the seams are matching up and the point that you sewn is matching up. And then you take your final piece, which is going to be your outside, and you do that good side or pretty side down. And you pin those together, and like I say, I just use a clip. And then you line up, so I've clipped that, you go to the other side. I don't know if everybody can see what I'm doing. You go to the other side and clip that side. If you had clips, just stuff. And clip this other side. And then line up these sides too. And I put a little clip where the 3 pieces of fabric join down here on the side. You can see all 3 are there. So I'll put a little clip there and do that all the way around. So I'll just keep showing you because this doesn't take very long. So clip, clip, and again, clip this one, and it should line up pretty well. Just cut your pieces out fairly accurately, but if it doesn't matter. So that's what I love about these masks. So there, you've got all 3 pieces clipped together, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to sew down this seam, probably about a 1/4 inch allowance, and allow for the curve there, and then sew down this seam, 1/4 inch allowance. Okay, so that is going to be my next thing I'm going to show you. So this is what it will look like when it's done. So we've got all 3 pieces sewn together on the top here, and all 3 pieces sewn at the bottom. Actually, top and bottom at this point are the exact same. You haven't really picked your top and bottom yet. So at this point, you need to turn it inside out. And what you need to do is you need to look in your opening that you have at the end here, because you've only sewn the top and bottom. These are still open. And you turn it so that the pretty side, or the good side of the outer fabric, and the good side of the filter pocket, that's where you turn. Now, when I was starting, many times I turned the wrong way. I would turn this way and it would look funny. It doesn't matter. Turn it back again and just try again. You turn it inside out. And when you do, it's looking a bit more like the final mask. And at this point, I would also iron it. That's why I keep my irons up there, because it's going to be kind of puffy and you want to keep it nice and flat. So there you are. You've turned it inside out. You've got your cover now. You've got your inside. You've got your filter pocket started. So now, the next step that the video shows is to turn in the ends and put your strings on. I do a step before that because I want a nose piece in mind. So this is where I'm going to veer off from the video. What I do, and this is, I've learned through the hard way, I tried to sew this with the wire in it and broke a needle. So now what I do is I sew a seam starting maybe about that far along from the edge. I'll do it this way so you might be able to see better. And quite wide enough to accommodate the nose wire. And I just sew, it's sort of the start of the casing, just along the top, whatever you pick as the top, and end maybe about there. You don't want to sew over this yet. So I just sew a piece there, and then I go in here and I stick my nose wire into that little casing that I've done. Then I go back and I just do a quick little run with my machine on this side and on this side. So then I have an actual casing that's going to hold that piece of wire in there. And it makes a big difference in terms of the fit and in terms of your glasses fogging up. So I would recommend doing that. So once you've done that, let me see what stage this one is. Okay, so in this one, I've done that. You can see I have, I think you can see, I've done my thread here first, and I've only taken it, you can't see this, but I've only taken it to about there when I initially did it. Put the wire in here, it's in here now. and sewn a little line here and a little line here, just to keep it in there. So when you wash it or whatever, it stays. The next step after that is to add your strings, and we're almost done. So what you do is I use my clips again. I love these clips. I just, you fold in, I'll start on this end. You take the end that's still rough and open, fold it in just a little bit, and you can eyeball it. It does not matter. It doesn't even matter if it's the same on one side as the other. Fold that in. I'd probably touch it with the iron because I tend to work on my ironing board. Take whatever string you're going to use, tuck it in the corner, and pin it, or if you've got these clips, I think they're great, just clip it, and you can do that all the way around. Just tuck your string in, clip it, go to the other end, fold the end in, take your string, clip it in the corner, clip it in the corner like this. Okay, so at this point what you have is you have your wire in here in your casing. You've got the casing only going to about here, and you've got your strings all clipped in. So you go back to your machine, and I'm going to turn it inside out just to show you. And then you sew from your casing where you left off, all the way down. You sew over the end of the string, and you can, go back and forth a bit if you want. Turn, so down this way, back and forth, turn, sew all the way along the bottom. You get to your other string, sew the string, turn all the way down, and then on the top again, right back to where you started your casing. So in the end, you have a seam all the way around it. You have your strings attached. You've got your nose piece in, and this is where the video would say you were done. You've got your mask, and you could be done if it fits. For me, the only other step, so here's the finished mask again, is I added, as I said earlier, these two little darts at the bottom. I just, again, don't measure. I just eyeball it, fold it over, run a little dart there, run a little dart there so it tucks under your chin. And that's it. You've got a nose piece. You've got a nice fitting mask that's 3 layers and has an option for a filter pocket. You've got some nice stretchy strings that you can put it on, tighten it as much as you like. The sides are pretty close to your face, so I like that fit. And there you are.
Hey, Sue, sorry. When you say that you insert little darts, what do you mean exactly?
Oh, sorry, Jordan. Yeah. What a dart is just, a dart is you use it. I guess it's more of a dressmaking term. You use it to make maybe somebody can help me a little more, to pull in an area a little bit. Like in the old days when you had homemade dresses, they'd often put darts in the bosom area to sort of give you, or men's shirts are kind of have darts in them, make them a fitted look. It's where you pull in the material. So all I did, if I was making a dart in this one that doesn't have it, I would just, I'd fold my material so the outside is showing, and then I would just fold, make a little stitch. In this case, I'm not measuring, but I would just, in fact, I'll get a pencil here, a pen. No, better make it a pencil. I would just make a line, or I would just sew it sort of on an angle like that, a triangle. And then when you open it up, what it's done is it's tucked it's tucked it in underneath. So the material, instead of just kind of hanging straight down, it goes in under your chin. And I'll show you again, if I can, what that means. So you put it on, and see, it fits under the chin more tightly than this one, let's say, that doesn't have a dart in it. It would just be kind of baggy at the bottom, which is fine. And maybe if you have a smaller chin than mine, you might need bigger darts, and if you have a bigger chin, you might not need darts. So does that help, Jordan?
Yes, well, that's a much better explanation. I'm not very versed on the sewing lingo, so.
Right. So that I'm glad you asked me that, because yeah. So I think that's probably it. If anybody has any suggestions of what they do, or questions, or anything you'd like me to clarify.
Yeah, so I'll just remind everybody right now that you are currently on mute, but you can, actually there's not a huge number of us, so you can just mention that you want to speak like Ola just did, and I'll unmute you. So Ola, I will unmute you right now, and you go ahead, Ola.
Thank you. That was an amazing reference. I mean, demonstration, and those masks really looks tight-fitting. It seems to me that there's kind of two different kind of masks. The one I've seen, Grey's Anatomy, like the ones surgeons wear, are not particularly tight-fitting. It's basically a piece of cloth across the mouth. And what it prevents is not only the surgeons from spitting into the patient's wounds when they talk, but also it works the other way too. If there's splatter from an aged patient, it hits the mask. It doesn't go into the mouth. So it seems to me what you're trying to do is making a homemade I-95 mask, which is really quite amazing. But very ambitious, not necessarily as much as needed. It's just my personal opinion, not being having any particular medical opinion at all. But
yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, Ola. This is a pattern that is, I believe people are using them. They're not medical. I'm not trying to say that they replace N95 at all. But when there's a shortage, these are the type I think that they're using in terms of homemade masks for service workers and people working in maybe seniors' homes and places like that. And they wash up very easily. You should wash them every time you use them. Some, say, resident care workers and things might use many in a shift. So they're just something that's maybe a little bit more than sort of putting a bandana over your mouth, but they're by no means designed to replace an N95 at all. And they may be more than what people need. And this is, the information changes every day. So these are just ones that I've come up with that hopefully will be multi-purpose.
Yeah.
They will give us a few layers of cotton to protect ourselves. Filter if you want. You don't need to. So, yeah.
Anyway, it's great. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ola. And what I didn't say is if people aren't sewers and they really need masks, I have quite a list as it is. But, let me know. And if I have any extra, I do my very best to try and supply anybody I can, because I think we're getting to the point where we're probably it's going to be pretty standard to wear a mask. And I know not everybody has the equipment or maybe the ability to make them. And I love to make them. So Jordan will also give you my email address and you can let me know.
Well, my mother and stepmother unfortunately didn't have any daughters, so they had to teach us to sew and cook. So I hope to try to make one myself. But I'm also a senior citizen, so I think a mask like this would be perfect for going shopping to the liquor store or the grocery store.
Yeah, John wears it, and he just takes the dog now out to that's my husband, sorry, who he has COPD, so I do all the shopping and whatnot, but he takes the dog every day out to Upton, and he wears it, and he's sort of done the beta testing, and the whole glasses fogging and the whole bit, and he says it's fine.
But the other thing is, it's not the kind of thing you would wear more than once. You come home, you take it off, drop it into a wash basin, and wash your hands, and use it again otherwise, because it could be carrying stuff that you don't want to spread around.
Yes. So that's why I think everybody probably needs a few. I'm starting out by giving everybody on my list 2, because if they go out, say, once a week shopping, then they can wash it and have another one. Once I give everybody that wants one a couple, then I'm going to maybe start giving them even a few more so they can have a few more in that wash cycle. And as I was saying, some of the resident care workers, I hesitate to say nurses because I don't want to make it seem like a medical mask, but sometimes I use several in a shift. So they need, 10, 15 of them so they can get
Oh
through a
yeah,
bunch
yeah.
and then wash and have a bunch for the next day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could see having a dozen or so,
Yeah.
but no big deal.
Any other questions? I see lots of great comments coming in on the thing. Thanking Sue for a great tutorial. Easy directions to follow. You apparently have a future in film and television. You should have your own YouTube channel.
Whatever that is.
And I'll just make a little plug here, as you would have seen in the email that we sent out about this, that we would like to line up some more skill sharing. So if you feel that you might have a film as a future in film and television.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, where do we have that noise coming from? Okay, wait, there we go. I found it. So yes, if you have a skill that that you think would be useful for people to use at this time, and that can be anything from you know, how to make things, you know, how to you know, even just like strategies that you've developed for how to sort of live in this time, maybe even strategies for how to stay connected with people, or how to work from home, or any kind of skill that you'd like to share, please get in touch with me, and I'd love to work out a time for you to share those skills through Zoom with other people.
And it's actually, I was a bit nervous to do it, and it turned out to be pretty easy. It's the first one I've ever done, so if I can do it, you guys, if you've got a skill, you can do it. I just see one note here that says, where can we find the pattern? Jordan has some links, and one of the links is to the YouTube video. And under the YouTube video, you'll see a couple links for the adult pattern and the child pattern. And Jordan also has just the direct link to those, so you can get at it either way. And if you're really stuck, again, let me know, and I'll scan it and send it to you or whatever.
For everybody who registered today, even those that weren't able to make it, I will send out an email with a recording of this webinar so that you can review it if you need to, and also all of the links that Sue provided me. And we might even be able to put this on our website, so in case you want to share it with other people too. So, okay, I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat box, so going once. Going twice.
Don't forget to reach out if you need
you.
patterns or even masks. If you can't make them, let me know.
Okay. Great. Well, then thank you very, very, very much, Sue, for this great presentation.
Oh, you're welcome.
And have a great rest of your evening, everybody.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for hosting.
Okay. See you later. Bye.